Okay, here we're going to do our first tutorial on levels adjustments. One good way to, I'll show a couple different ways. One is to go up to Image, Adjustments, and Levels. And the reason you want to do this to your image is to get rid of that hazy look that it might have. Also, it helps bring out color or shadows and highlights in this case. And also it'll help bring out a lot of this texture that I kind of lose because it's very gray. So what it needs more is a little bit more contrast, and levels is a good way to control that contrast. And you'll do that by adjusting a couple things here. One is this black slider and one is this white slider, and if needed you can adjust the gray tones in between. So what I'm going to do is bring this black slider in towards the middle. You notice what happens, it starts to get much darker. If you go all the way, too dark. So I'll bring it back a little bit, don't need to get that dark. Then I'm going to go with this white slider and slide that in. So now it's a much more dynamic image in that it has a lot more highlights and shadows, and it shows off a lot more of that texture in the ground. Now a way you can check to see your changes is to click on this preview button here, and you see the before and then the after. Before, gray, dull, not a whole lot of texture. After shows off much more shadows and highlights. Much happier with that. So that's one way to do it. Now once you make that change in OK, the only way to go back to adjust the levels is to go back in your history panel, and so here's where I made my levels change. If you want to go back, you'd have to go to Open or the step previous to your levels adjustment. So that's one way to do it, and if you're just making a quick selection, you don't plan on going back to adjust it anymore, then that's the best route to go. And then you would then go up to File, Save As, and you would put this in your levels adjustment folder. If you're doing it for that assignment, or just in general, save it wherever you'd like to put it. Once you click Save As, window will pop up. Make sure you know where you're saving it to. Make sure you know the title. You change it to something else, then make sure you know what that title is going to be, and then you would click Save. I'm not going to do that. Another way to do that, change the levels, is here's my image. What I want to do is add an adjustment layer, which means I want to find, here's my adjustments tab. I want to go to levels right here, and when I click that, something pops up, another layer pops up right above my original image, and this is a special layer that will let me adjust it later. And this little graph pops up again, and so I can say, hey, I'm going to bring this in, make some adjustments, bring this in, and I can see what that looks like with or without it. I can click this eye, which is kind of the visibility, the layer visibility. So that's with it off. I want it on to see my changes. You see much richer colors. There it is without, real hazy. Here it is with it, very clear, very bright, nice, rich, vibrant colors. And if I'm okay with that, I can simply close this, and that goes away. Now I can always go back if I decide, oh, maybe that's too much or too little. I can click right here and double click on that, and the same window pops up with my settings on it. I can say, oh, well, maybe I forgot to adjust this gray tone, and can just make some changes to it, and once you're okay with it, you can close it out, and that would be it. And again, you would save it as needed. Make sure you remember which folder and what your file name is before you do that. And that's all for this quick levels adjustment